Hello, hope you found yourself a nice big space in your house, maybe on something comfortable and soft like some carpet. You're just going to need your foam roller with you today. I have a longer one, but a shorter one is going to do just fine. We are going to start with rolling out our adductors, so that's our inner thighs. So you're going to lie onto your belly and your foam roller is going to be lengthways, so we can pop our leg over the top. So let's start lying onto your belly. Just onto your forearms, your hips can be resting down onto the ground, and then your knee is going to be at 90 degrees and just going to pop it over the top of the foam roller here. I'm going to break the thigh into two pieces, so cut it into half, and we're going to work the bottom half, so closer down towards the knee. All I'm going to get you to do is push your hips down towards the floor, and that roller will move closer in towards yourself, and roll it back. So I'm just pushing my hips down towards the ground and then lifting them back up. You might find it's quite tender towards the knee, and that's normal. You just want to apply a little or as much pressure as you can tolerate and as you feel is doing a benefit to you. The pain level should never go above a 7 out of 10, no matter what you're doing. So just keep that in mind when we're foam rolling. Want to be able to enjoy it a little bit. It's a love-hate relationship with the roller. Beautiful. Once you're done with that bottom half, you're just going to do the other half now, okay? So starting in the middle of the thigh and working higher up towards the groin this time. Hope you've got either the TV on in the background or you're listening to some music. It's a really nice way to use the roller is just to use it as a little bit of a chill out time, so having it close by the TV or in a spare room if you have one, or just somewhere that is easily accessible for you. I always like to leave the foam roller out in this room in particular, and I just always look over at it, and it's just a reminder that I should jump on and do some rolling. No one's perfect, I don't jump on it every day, but the more you enjoy it and the more you know how to use it, the more likely you are to use it. And sometimes I just stick to maybe like one area of the body a day as well. It doesn't have to be a full body foam roll every time you jump on here. Beautiful. If you're confident, you can then start to roll the entire inner thigh if you like, if you can control that roller, and if the hips are feeling okay today. There's no strict right or wrong with the roller as well, or where you're supposed to put your body. Sort of just put yourself in a situation that it works best for you. Going back and just focusing on any areas that are a little bit sorer than the others, and you might just want to isolate that area and roll backwards and forwards, or you just want to try relax and put some pressure onto that area and see if you can get it to release and relieve that way. The whole idea, I suppose, with the roller is that we are trying to relax our muscles as much as possible so we can roll them and massage them out. So the more that we're using the muscle, the more tense it is, the more pain it's going to produce. And the thing is, we're fighting the foam roller, so you're not really going to get much out of it. So if an area is too sore when you're foam rolling and you do find you're just tensing around it, it is probably best just to leave it for a couple of days and you can revisit it. You may want to use something else like a tennis ball or something a little bit softer. You might even just want to use your hands and massage an area out yourself. It could just be that area just needs some stretching rather than the roller. Beautiful. Alrighty, before we do the other side, we are going to roll our back. What I like to do after rolling an area is sort of just lie the limb or lie flat next to the other limb and just see if you notice any difference. Like if that side feels a little bit more relaxed than the other side, it might literally feel a little bit longer. But yeah, I always like just to be a little bit mindful with rolling and see if I do notice a difference between the sides or between the area that I've just rolled. As I said, before we do the other side, let's jump onto our back. So the foam roller can stay in the position that it is. You're just going to sit in front of the roller. And I always like to use the rib cage as a little bit of a guide, so I won't pop it right at the base of my spine and then start to roll over it from there. I'll move it back just a tiny little bit, so then when I do place my back onto the roller, it's just at the bottom of my rib cage there. It just feels a little bit more secure. From here, I just like to place the hands behind the back of my head, and I like to cradle it, and I really like to pull and lengthen through my spine. So I'll talk you through it and see if this works for you as well. So from here, I'm going to round through my upper spine, so pulling my chin towards my chest and lengthening the back of the head with the hands. And then from here, I like to roll up that curved spine. My bottom is only just off the floor. If anything, it's scraping along the floor, but I'm using my feet to pull my bottom towards my heels. Again, keeping that rounded spine. When I get to my upper back and I feel like I'm going to go up onto my shoulder blades, that's where I stop. I sit my bottom down and then I start to extend my spine over the roller. Still keeping my head nice and heavy into my hands and only going to a point that you can. I then tuck my chin in first and round through my spine, starting at the top, round all the way up like going into a little sit-up position. And then when I'm in this flex position or this curve position is when I start to roll again. So I use my feet to then push into the ground and my bottom will move away from my heels. And you're starting to roll down your back now. And you move nice and slowly when you're working on your back. If one side of your spine is feeling a little bit slower than the other, I do like to maybe rotate the hips away. So you've got a little bit more pressure now on this side. And I'm still holding my head and supporting it with my hands and rolling it in that rounded position. Again, when I found a position where I want to go into extension, I drop the bottom and then I can start to arch my back over. Good. Bringing myself back up before I start rolling again. So I rarely roll in an extended position just because the muscles that we're rolling now, your erector spinae muscles, they're responsible for that extension. So when I'm in this flex position, I'm trying to put the muscle on to stretch and then I'm massaging it and rolling it out. If I'm going into an extended position, my muscles are working to get me into that position. So I like to be as relaxed and supported as possible before then taking those muscles into extension and trying to relax as much as I can when I am at that end position in that extension. Good. So see if that works for you, finding that flexed position, relaxing your head, and then really accessing those muscles a little bit easier to roll rather than in this extended position trying to roll over the foam roller, okay? Good. Again, finding a spot that just feels a little bit more stuck or a little bit more sore, like you can't relax over it. Drop the bottom down, and that's when you'll slowly take yourself into that extension. You can hang out in that extended position for as long as you need to, making sure you bring yourself back up by curling that spine up one vertebrae at a time, keeping your bottom on the ground to stay nice and supported before rolling again. I like to work in segments as well. I'll never fully roll from top to bottom the whole time. I might on the way up do the whole length of the spine moving nice and slowly, but once I've sort of had a roll over the whole area, I know which parts my back needed a little bit more than others. So I'm usually working with the roller that mid to upper section of the back. For some people you might be working a little bit lower, but as I said, I don't go below the rib cage, so some lower back pain might be quite low, and we would target that more when we're working on rolling around the hip, which we'll do in a bit. It's really good on the way up the spine to move nice and slowly. And as you breathe, it's really good to move on the exhale breath. So inhale, try find some stillness. And when you exhale, you really want to soften yourself and relax down onto that roller. You might be able to get like a few cracks throughout your back, a little bit of relief. So use that breath as well. Try not to hold your breath, but use that exhale breath as that time to move and work a little bit deeper. Beautiful. Once you finish rolling out through your back, again, we just take that moment to notice how we're feeling. So I just like to sit up off the roller and maybe just like gently moving the spine. So I draw some circles, or you sit up nice and tall, go into extension, and then rounding through that spine into that flexion, and just seeing how it feels. If you feel a little bit more mobile, if you feel like you've created some space, if you're feeling less restriction, all are really great things. Then we want to test out how the lats are feeling. So I just plant one hand down, I send this other arm up and over, and just seeing where I feel that restriction. Other side, lifting up and over. And then I would usually start on the side that felt a little bit tighter. So I'm going to start on my right side. We're going to come down onto your foam roller, but lying onto your side. So again, I just work within the rib cage. That's always my guideline. And we want to make sure that we are, so rather than being directly onto your side, I want you to roll back just a little bit. And then that's when we can roll through our lats. Just working into the side of the ribs here, moving nice and slowly. And you might find straight away where a lot of the pain or the tension is, and you can stay there. I usually just like to roll forwards and backwards. Working into the area just underneath the armpit as well. Some referral pain down the arm is normal. You don't want to feel like that tingling numbness. You're probably compressing a little bit too hard. I would just back it off by lifting yourself up and away, or move that foam roller just a smidge down your rib cage. But that gentle referral pain sort of down towards the elbow is what I'm getting, but it isn't hanging around. So the more I move and the more I work into it, the less referral I'm getting, which just means I'm getting a little bit of release, which is what we want. Be nice and gentle with yourself. Working just into the side of the rib cage there. You're picking up some other tissues as you roll forwards and backwards as well. I don't spend too long here. Beautiful. Once you finish on that side, again, it's just making some small movements just to see if you feel a difference on that side. If you're feeling like it feels a little bit lighter, I feel like I've also increased the blood flow to that area. It feels quite nice. And then I'm going to do the other side. We'll do our other lat, and then we will go back and do our other inner thigh. So far we've done one inner thigh, one lat. We're doing the other lat now, and we've rolled through our back as well. A lot of people may ask, like, how long should I be foam rolling for? And I don't have one hard and fast rule, to be honest. It depends how you're feeling on the day or when you're doing this. If you're doing this at night time, you can probably find you spend a little bit longer. You wouldn't be spending, I suppose, this long maybe right before a workout, unless you allow that amount of time. But this length and this amount of time, I suppose, is more for a recovery session, where you've either done something in the morning, or you're not working out until the afternoon, or it's just your day off. That can be a really nice time to spend a little bit more time, and you might find that one leg is really sore and the other one's not too bad at all. I'd be spending a little bit more of my time on the areas that I'm feeling more pain than the side that I'm not really feeling too much. I'll definitely do some investigating and see if I can find anything, but if it's feeling pretty good, then there's no real reason to spend a lot of time there. So you could be spending 2 minutes on one side, and the other side you've just spent 30 seconds, and that's enough. And if you're using foam rolling as a little bit of a warm-up, which I'll demonstrate at the end of this video, we'll foam roll the back of our legs. But yeah, you're really not spending more than 30 seconds on each part of the body as a bit of a warm-up. If you're just sitting in front of the TV as well, I find you kind of lose track of how much time has passed, and you really learn to go off feeling. Where for me, this side of my lat isn't feeling too bad, so I'm not going to spend too much time just sitting on there if I'm not getting much of a response. I don't want to sort of aggravate anything, or I can just use my time elsewhere. So I'll spend a little bit less time on this side than the other side. If you are the opposite, you can spend a little bit more time on this side of your body. Just hit the pause button and you can just play when you're ready to catch up. Just use this video as a little bit of a guide. I'm going to be feeling totally different to what you guys are feeling. Once you finish with that, again, just making those small movements and just seeing how that is feeling. Trying to match both sides and see if we can get them feeling really similar. I'm going to lie back down onto my belly and do my other inner thigh now. Working the bottom half closest to my knee first, and then I'll move to the top half closer towards my groin, and I'll finish by rolling as much of the muscle as I possibly can. Sitting in and sinking and relaxing into any spots that I find are giving me a little bit more grief than others. Again, just split your time to where you need. And the leg that's over the roll, or the leg that we're working into, I am trying to make sure that's relaxed as possible. My other foot is doing a lot of the work in terms of I'm up onto my toes, and that leg is what's pushing me over the roller, rather than this leg wanting to. This leg isn't pulling me over, if that makes a lot of sense. I'm trying to keep this leg relaxed as much as I possibly can. I am, in terms of this leg, just bending and extending the knee, but I'm trying not to use my inner thigh to push my leg down into the roller, just because that's what that muscle does. It draws your legs in close to each other. So I'm trying to keep that relaxed. Beautiful. There's one little sore spot that I'm just going to try to relax my leg down into. And after that, we are going to move on and roll our quads, so the front of our thighs. Beautiful. Both legs are feeling a lot more relaxed, which is a really good thing. I'm going to come up now. I'm going to keep my foam roller. Pretty much stays in the same position the whole time. I find I move myself around the roller, but yeah, it depends on how much space you have, of course. So with the quads, we're going to move nice and slowly, okay? I'm going to get you to start in a 4-point kneeling position. We are going to be relying on our upper body to hold us up over the roller a little bit more this time, so making sure that you're okay on your hands and knees or on your elbows. So then what I'm going to get you to do is you are going to start at your knees. So I'm going to get the foam roller just on the top of my knees, not on my knees, I don't want to cause any pain. And then I'm going to use my toes and I'm going to drop down onto my forearms and use my forearms. So we're in like a supported plank position here. So then what I'm going to get you to do is push your elbows away from the foam roller to roll yourself over the roller. You need to walk your elbows in, but we just want to move nice and slowly. The first couple, I find the quads feel like they're contracting and they're fighting against the roller, so that's why I move nice and slowly. It gives them a chance to relax as much as possible. I find going from the knees up to the hips feels a lot nicer than the other way, which is what we're about to do. So I'm now working the foam roller down towards my knees. May feel a little bit more uncomfortable. If this is too uncomfortable, you're just going to work from knees to hips, okay? So you're just going to get off and reset. If you can find you can go both ways, it's really good. Just go a lot slower when you're heading down towards your knees, okay? Beautiful. You can do that a couple of times if you like. What I'm going to do is I'm going to place one toe down onto the floor just to support me, and I'm going to bend this knee. So now I'm putting my quad muscle on a bit of stretch, and I'm going to roll it in that stretch position. So we're still rolling the other leg, but I've got one bent, and I'm going to be trying to focus a little bit more onto that leg. Coming up as high as you can onto the hip, and then crawling yourself back down like a little commando crawl. Again, you can go up and down on that side as much as you like, really, especially if you're starting to get a little bit of relief each time you roll. That's really great. I'm just going to swap my legs over, so bending that other leg. I've got that other toe as a little bit of support, and I'm just trying to roll. Again, still rolling both legs. Take it nice and slow over any of those spots that might be a little bit extra sore. Finding my left leg's a little bit sore. I was right for everything else, but left quad it is today. And just finishing again with both my legs out nice and straight and relaxed. Beautiful. Alright, from here, if you would like to roll your shins, you can follow with me. So I'm going to bring myself so the foam roller is probably in the middle of my thighs. That's where I feel the most supported. I'm going to come up onto my hands, and then I'm going to roll myself onto my shins are sitting onto the foam roller. And then from here, we want to aim to roll the outside of the shin bone. So we're working into, the outside where most of the muscle bulk is. So I do have my feet slightly turned in so I can roll mostly onto that meaty, muscly part rather than onto the shin bones. This might not be suitable or comfortable for everyone, so just making sure that if it's not feeling right, then we'll just give this one a little bit of a miss. You can either roll through your quads, or another thing that we will do, that you can do now, is just sitting back with your toes tucked under onto your feet and just trying to stretch out through the bottom of your feet there into your plantar fascia. You can also try rolling one at a time. That way you can really roll onto the outside of that shin. It's a little bit more targeted than doing both at the same time. For anyone who walks or runs or even drives quite a lot, you might find that the front of your shin is quite sore. This muscle that we're rolling here is responsible for bringing your toes towards you. Beautiful. So I would then just like to point my toes, so we're lengthening that muscle, and then bringing those toes up towards you is using that muscle. So again, just getting a little bit of full range of motion through those legs, seeing how they feel. Beautiful. All right. What we are going to do next is I'm just going to show you how I would quickly roll through the back of my legs and through my glutes if I was using this as a warm-up. So it's really perfect before you are about to go into exercise, before you're about to go for a walk, or before you're about to go to the gym. What we would do is sitting onto our bottom, placing one leg over the foam roller. So I do one leg at a time so I can have the extra support of the other leg. We'll start off with our calf muscle. So as I roll the legs, so the same principle is going to apply for the hamstrings. I like to start on one side. So if that's the inside or the outside, I start there, I do a couple of rolls, and then I start to slowly rotate my leg so then my toe points inwards or my foot faces inwards. And I'm just going to then make sure I work the muscle at all angles. And I move through this a little bit quicker as a warm-up. So I literally like to imagine that the foam roller is a rolling pin and I'm trying to roll out the muscle, or imagine that you're rolling out a pizza dough base. You've got to work the different angles to make it into a perfect circular shape. And I'm trying to keep that foot and that leg as relaxed as possible. And I can even see that it's starting to like squish my muscle and roll it out. Good. So I'm a little bit more active with this. My bottom is just hovering up off the ground. I'm using the support of my hands, and this other leg is helping me out as well. But it is a lot on the arms, so that's why I'm not here for too long. Good. We do the same thing for the hamstring. So what I do is I bring my foot on the other side of the roller though. Same position. And I try to roll the whole muscle at once. I start up nice and high. Good. So I find it's hard to get quite a bit of pressure through the hamstrings, which is why I wouldn't normally use it as a recovery exercise. I'd be more just using it as that warm-up before you're about to go into exercise. Beautiful. If you would like to do the other side, go for it. Otherwise, I'm going to move on. We're just going to roll out through the side of our hips. So the way I'm going to show you to do that is pick one side that you'd like to work on. We're going to be sitting our hip onto that roller, okay? And then so working more into the meaty part of the hip. So when I say hip, we're going to be rolling a little bit more forward, okay? Then I'm going to come down onto my elbow, and then hopefully once you are there, you'll be able to just do a little bit of investigating. So you might need to roll forward a little bit more, or roll up and there's that meaty part on the side of the hip that may be a little bit tender. So for me, this side's feeling pretty good. We're just rolling really small area. Mostly just trying to put a little bit of our body weight pressure down into that roller. And working into the side of the hip. So we're not quite onto that glute muscle. Oh, there's a little bit of tenderness. I'm just going to sit into that as much as I can. Rolling out our TFL here, it's one of our hip flexors, as I said. It's the top of the ITB that runs down the outside of your thigh, down towards the knee. So it's a really nice release. If you're getting any knee pain or any like hip tightness or any restriction maybe when going down into a squat position, or if you're curled up in bed and you're getting a little bit of hip tightness, this muscle can be really good to roll. Once you finish that side, let's go over to the other side. So sitting onto that foam roller, rolling those hips forward, down onto the elbow, and hopefully you can find that little hip flexor muscle. It's located, if you find the front of your hip bone and you just move down a little bit and then backwards a little bit, that's where it is. If you just bring your knee in towards your chest, you should be able to feel it pop up underneath your fingertips there. That's the muscle that we're wanting to work into. Same as when we're rolling our lats, a little bit of that referral pain going down the thigh towards the knee is normal. We don't want to feel that numbness or those pin the needle type of pain. We don't want to put that much compression through there. So if you are getting anything that's not feeling quite right, then just coming off that, or applying a little bit of pressure and seeing if that relieves anything. You just want to work again within that really small range of motion. Beautiful. Hopefully not feeling too bad at all. And then just doing those small little movements again, just to see how our hips are feeling. So I'll take this reclined position. I just like to drop both legs over to one side and over to the other side. And again, just get a little bit of movement through there and just see how they're feeling. Rocking those hips from side to side, see how they're feeling. Beautiful. If you'd like to go back and roll the calf and the hamstring on the other side, you can do so. Quickly, just going to go over how you can roll through your glutes. All I do is I cross one ankle over the opposite knee and I take my body weight over to that side, and that's how I roll out those glutes. Just take it from side to side. And that's how you would warm up the back of your legs. Apart from that, if you want to take a nice second roll of the back just to see how it's feeling, go for it. I always find if I haven't got any cracks out of my back the first time, when I revisit, I can manage to get a little bit more movement, maybe because things aren't as sore and they're not trying to tense as much. You're a little bit more relaxed and everything's a little bit more stretched out. So I find you can get a lot more movement the second time around. And I like just to go into a little bit of extra flexion and extension. Whew. But apart from that, you are all done. Thanks so much for joining me. I hope you found some helpful tips in there, and it just was a nice way to foam roll with somebody else and get this done for the day, okay? I'll see you at your next class.